Good morning, everyone, and welcome in this webinar. We are glad to have you during this webinar about unlocking potential competency gap insights. So today in this webinar, I would say in this mini webinar, we will be tackling the idea of the competencies, the ladder of the competencies, and how you as HR people and professionals, leaders, you can make the best of use of those competencies. First, allow me to introduce myself, and then we will be jumping into the agenda and the webinar itself. So my name is Zarita Sabali, as you can see. I am a learning and development expert. I have more than 13 years of experience in learning and development under HR. So my first background was in my first master's degree was in human resources, and I worked in human resources since 2010. I've been working in HR. I love this field. I believe in developing people through competencies, and this will be the core of our webinar today. I've been facilitating in workshop and webinars, seminars since 2013. I am a university lecturer, so I do provide university courses in coaching and human resources in different countries in Europe and in the MENA region. And I am an executive and a team coach. So basically, I did my executive master's degree in coaching and management to be able to help people, managers, senior, and organization to grow through coaching. So, and we will be talking about this technique eventually during the last part of our webinar. I am glad to be among you today, and we will be sharing some key elements related to the competencies and how we will be using the competencies to enhance our organization, to develop our people, and to unlock potentials. Our webinar will be divided in two main parts to be able to cover those objectives. Basically, in the first 45 minutes, we will be tackling the concept of the human potential within the framework of human resources management, definitely. Recognize the impact of a competency dictionary. We will be talking a bit about the competency dictionary and how we can make the best of use of the competency dictionary. Then how we implement the steps for gap analysis. And at the end, how we can create some strategies to bridge competencies gap and develop action plan to unlock human potential effectively. So the starting point is for our webinar today is to discover how our people, our talented are our basically main asset, and we have all the potential we need within them, and how we can reach a moment where we can develop this potential in order to fill all the gap needed within our organization. In the first 45 minutes, we will be covering this, and then we will be having 15 minutes for your Q&A. During the workshop, if you have any question, when you have any question that's pumping up, you just write it in the Q&A box, please. And then in the last 15 minutes, we will try to answer all your questions. During this webinar as well, at some point I will be asking a question, and I would love to hear your answer through the chat box, please. We will have one question, and based on your answers, we will move on. So let's start with our first section and tackle the idea of the potential and how we can unlock the potential. Before going to this topic and before talking about the potential itself, just I want to remind you about small stuff. Like today we are here in this small webinar to learn and to take some takeaways. So try to be to unlock your curiosity by really focusing and by asking any kind of question that you might need the support or awareness on. Ensure a quiet environment for your added value, and we will try to respect our time and how the session will be split. So again, you can use the chat box to answer my question, and if you need any support or anything, the Q&A button for your question that will be answered in the last 15 minutes, and whenever you feel like, you can use any reaction. So to make the best of our time, since we have like a frame very well defined, let's start with the first part of our webinar, the inherent talent and potential of individuals. And then we will be moving to browsing the competency dictionary until reaching the last stage, which is competency gap analysis best practice. So for the first part, which is the inherent talent and potential, this is a sentence said by Carl Rogers, and it was used for coaching a lot since 2004, 2005. People are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And I'm a big believer in this statement. And I do agree from an HR background, I do agree from a coaching background, I do agree from a strategic background that yes, our people are naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. They do have all the potential within. They do have the knowledge, they do have the creativity we need, they do have the culture we need, they do have the competencies we need. But the idea is to figure out what do they have in order to fill the gap of what we need. Each and every person, each and every collaborator, each and every employee, team member, they have a certain creativity inside. They do have knowledge, they do have a potential. The idea is, and the challenge is for us as HR people to really try to figure out what do we need versus what do we have. But the starting point will always be this belief of, yes, the people that we have in our team, they are creative, resourceful, and whole, but let us find the proper fit in the appropriate place. This is our challenge, basically. So imagine like we have a plant in a certain environment. I am sure that most of you heard this example. If we have a seed and in a certain environment, but the environment itself does not help the seed to grow, we will never reach a stage where we will see a plant beautifully growing, because the environment is not encouraging this seed, is not encouraging this plant. However, if we remove the seed and we put the seed and we plant it in another place where the environment is more appropriate, maybe more sunny, maybe less windy, maybe with more water, this seed might become a big plant and a beautiful plant. So the idea is here, let's compare the individuals that we have, the team members that we have, our people, our resources, our talented people to the seed. If we put them in the appropriate place to be able to help them unleashing their potential, we will reach a place where we are satisfied from a company level and HR level, and they are happy and growing. So this is the idea, ladies and gentlemen. The idea is basically and simply, we need to figure out where and how can we invest on our people, potential people, by unleashing their potential. And we unleash the potential of our people then, step one, by putting them in the right place. And this is very important, very crucial to figure out where is the right place for each and every talented person we have. In order to do so, we have a process. The first step, which is very important, is to identify the strengths and areas for improvement. When I identify what kind of strength in terms of competencies my team member does have, or basically what kind of potential, what kind of talent, what kind of competencies that specific person has in hand, this is discovering the strengths of that person. And the most important part is to see what are the areas of improvement in order eventually to help him or her in the development journey, to improve all the competencies needed, to improve his or her skills. So basically the identification of the strengths and the areas of development is the first step to help us unleashing the potential. And if you have the question in your head of how we can do this, basically we can do this in different ways in HR. We can do it through performance management system. We can do it through monthly meetings. We can do it through KPIs. We can do it through continuous communication. We can do it through continuous check-ins in the performance management system. We have so many ways of doing it. The idea is First, we need the belief that yes, our people, they do have the potential within, our people are capable, our people are creative, resourceful, and whole. Then we move to the second step in the process by unleashing their potential and identifying their strengths and areas of improvement. Once we have the strengths clear and once we have the areas of development clear and set in stone, we can move forward to set the clear goals. Well, I do know that Mrs. Y, she has high skills in competency 1, 2, 3, and she needs support and development in competencies 4, 5, 6. I do set goals for both. I do set goals for her strengths, and I do set goals for the areas of development. How? Number one, for the strengths, we try to capitalize on those strengths. We try to see how can I benefit from those strengths that Mrs. X already has. Can I create a system for her to support others, to develop others, to use those skills in a different way, to give her more responsibilities mainly because she can strive easily on those competencies? We figure out how we capitalize to optimize those strengths and those competencies. Step 2, we set goals for the areas of development by asking, by specifying actually, what are the competencies that we need to develop and how can we develop them? We will figure out in the last part of our webinar today how we can develop competencies, but mainly it's about figuring out how to create a learning and development journey for that person or that team or that entity to grow and to develop those competencies. And you know, today we have different ways to develop the competencies through continuous learning, through learning and development, through coaching, through mentoring, through personal effort. We have a lot and different ways to do it. We just need to figure out what is the best way for my entity, for my organization, for this team, for those people. Once we have the clear goal set, definitely we need to provide support. And when we say providing support, it's not only about monitoring. It's not only about following through. It's beyond that, ladies and gentlemen. It's basically about encouraging the growth mindset. You know, we have two types, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. People with a fixed mindset, leaders with a fixed mindset, or HR people or professionals, whomever with a fixed mindset, it's about believing that at some point, what I know is the whole truth, it's the whole reality, or an end, it's enough. What I already know, based on my years of experience, based on what I went through, is enough. There is no need to go further. And this is very crucial, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know we all have years of experiences. We all have years of experience. 10, 15, 20, 25 years will never be enough. Life is about growth. Life is a continuous learning journey. So it's much more efficient, it's much more powerful to jump into a growth mindset where we really think about every opportunity is a learning opportunity for me. Growth mindset, it's about searching in each and every situation, today, tomorrow, and always, how I can grow. What can I learn? What are the things that are new to me? Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, we always have opportunities for growth. So in order to do this, and our role basically as professionals, leaders, HR, is to support our team while first having the growth mindset ourselves, and then try to mirror this growth mindset and encourage them to also have this growth mindset. This is how we can provide support, nurturing their curiosity to learn and capitalizing on each and every learning journey. And the last step in the process of unleashing the potential is monitoring and adjust, because you already know, and I already know, that if we don't follow through, if we don't check if things are going well, at some point we will miss an important step to be done, we will miss an opportunity. So monitoring and adjusting is very, very important as to continuously check if things are going well, if the development is properly done or not, so we can help our people to unleash their potential. So the first prerequisite is to try to plant the seed in the appropriate environment, in the appropriate place, because we believe that every person is a talent, has a talent. Every person is resourceful and whole. And then we work on unleashing the potential by doing those steps. Identifying strengths and areas for improvement, set the clear goals for those strengths and those areas of improvement, provide continuous support and encourage the growth mindset every day, and monitor and adjust. This is the quick process of unleashing the potential. On top of that, our role is very important to browse the competencies, to check what kind of competencies that talent or this potential person already have in, and then to nurture it by the development. So how we can do so? The first question that came to my mind, and I would appreciate if you can answer me in the chat box, while searching for a talent, you HR professionals, you leaders, when you are searching for talented people in certain position, what is the first thing you look at? I will give you 1 to 2 minutes, please, and I appreciate if you can message us in the chat box so we can hear your answers. What is the first thing that you look at while searching for talents? Waiting for your answers in the chat box, please. Chivani, can you see the answers from your end? All right. So, while searching for talented people and while searching to recruit talented people in certain position, the first things that you look at, and based on a certain, I would say, diversity perspective, we might be searching for a technical fit. We might be searching for cultural fit. We might be searching for committed people. We might be searching for a certain set of competencies. All those perspectives are important. All those perspectives are in place. But the most important thing about searching searching for the best fit, searching for the talent person, is try to keep this concept in your mind, people, leaders, professionals, and HR people. It's not always what it seems. What do we mean by this? It means, as you know, in the iceberg, we have like a certain, what is visible from the iceberg is what we can see, and it's clear. We can see the form, we can see the shape, and we have the hidden part, which is under the water. When it comes to talented people, when it comes to finding the potential, we have the same, I would say, science. We have the same, we can picture things in the same perspective. We have what we see, the knowledge and the skills that we can see, and those are the 20%. They are good. What we see is very good. We can see the education of that person. We can see the experience because he is informing or she is informing me about her or his experience. We can see the professionals, the professional years of experience where he or she spent them, etc. And this is important for us, but it's only 20% of what we need. What is the most important part is to dive in and to try to figure out the 80%, the essence of a person, the invisible part. And this is the most important and the most crucial part, because this is where we can find the real competencies underneath what is visible. And the real competency is about how that person thinks, how that person acts, react, the internal motivation. Does the competency or the set of competencies of this specific person fit my culture as an organization or not? So from an HR perspective, and in your role as leaders, is not to limit the perspective on the 20%. Our role is to try to dive in and search for the invisible part, to see what is not seen from the first encounter with a person, by questions, by enhancing our curiosity, to really figure out what are the real skills of that person, the core competencies of that person, the behavioral competencies of that person. Are they fitting what I need? Do I have this cultural fit? And why I am doing this, why it's very crucial for me to dive in as HR person, to figure out if this person, if this talented person in front of me fits my culture, because this is where I am making sure that this seed will fit this specific environment. So the organization is like the environment of the plant, the wind, the sun, even the ground. This is the organization. And my organization, it has a certain identity. It has a certain culture, core competencies, and it is set, fixed. The talents are the seeds that I am searching for. If I bring this seed and put it in my environment, which is the organization, and it doesn't grow, that means that I wasn't able to see the 80%, the essence of the person, the essence of the seed. I wasn't able to see, I wasn't able to discover if this seed, when I put it in my environment, will grow. There is no matching between the seed and the environment. The environment, the culture of the company, the organization itself, the competencies required in this company, they are set. I cannot change them always and every day. However, I can change my target. I can change how I pick the seeds. Remember, every person is resourceful and whole. However, I need to figure out the best fit between the talent and what I need in my environment, in my organization. This is why I invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to look in the 80% always, to be able to figure out the different types of the competencies. And if you can search for the fit between those competencies that the person has in the 80%, the invisible part, and what you need for your organization to be able to fit those competencies. It's like pieces of puzzle. And normally we have, and you know that, we have 3 different types of competencies. The behavioral / leadership skills. So those what we, Simon Sinek called them the human skills. So it's about communication skills, leadership skills, coaching skills, negotiation skills, organization skills, time management, everything related to behavior, human skills, and leadership. And this set of skills is very important, because normally this is the second phase that we need to develop and to search for in a certain fit or a certain potential person. The technical skills are, as it is, the technical part, like Excel proficiency, Java knowledge, AutoCAD knowledge, any technical knowledge. And definitely, this is where we match with the job requirement, the tasks that that person needs to do technically. Does he or she have the technical skills for that? Yes or no? Same for the behavioral skills. The job, we need the competencies for the job. That this person shows at least, let's say, 60–70% of matching with what we need in the job requirement. And the most important type of competency is the core competencies, the values. The core competencies are the DNA, it's the first element in the DNA of an organization. Every organization, in its DNA, we search for the vision, for the mission, and for the values. For the mission and a vision, this is really for the company itself. The values, this is the part shared between the organization and the team and its people. So while searching for the fit, it's very crucial to try to see the 80% of the person, the invisible part of the iceberg, to see if the essence of that person, the behavioral part of that person, does it fit? Can we search? Can we figure out a certain fit with my company's values, with the core competencies? This is the first thing we need to look at in our search, the competency matching with the values, with the core competencies of the company. If this is ticked, we move forward to the behavioral competencies, leadership competencies about the behaviors, and then the technical ones. And you know, for a fact, the technical competencies, we can teach them easier than the behavioral competencies and much more easier than the values, because those are related to the essence of a person. And this is why we have troubles sometimes in recruiting or in developing or in promoting internal people. We figure out that at some point, things are not moving in the right direction because the fit is not there. I would love to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, in case you have any question, anything in mind, you can write it in the Q&A tab. And eventually, after 10 minutes, we will be taking your after 10 to 15 minutes, we will be taking your questions. So don't hesitate if you have like questions in your mind, write them in the Q&A box whenever you want. So in order to do this, also, we need to have like a mindset shift from our end as HR professionals, as leaders. We need to have this mindset shift and look at things from a perspective of what are the competencies needed for the job, much more than what is only the experience needed. The profile that I am searching for as HR professional while recruiting or while developing internal people, while promoting, even while drawing a succession planning, while creating a growth plan for a person, is to move our mindset shift from only what is required for the job in terms of technical aspect to competencies requirement. So I go beyond the task itself. We do this mindset shift to think about what are the behavioral competencies needed, what are the leadership competencies needed, what are the technical competencies needed, what are the values that should be applied, what are the environment that this person will be working on. So basically, it's like putting all what we've been talking about in motion, trying to figure out what are the competencies needed to fill the competency gap, not only the task, not only the search or the analysis to be like task-oriented or only job requirement oriented. I know that when we talk about job requirement, the competencies is part of it. And I totally agree with all of you if you will be thinking that, yeah, but when we say job requirement, competencies is part of it. Yes, I do agree. However, when we think job requirement, we are more lenient to think about what is technically need to be done, what are the things that from a technical perspective. What I am inviting you to think about is a more of a helicopter view, a more of a strategic view, and try to figure out the whole set of competencies needed in order to look at things not only from the 20% perspective, but from the essence, from the 80%, and try to fit the whole matrix. Moving forward, and let's see how we can really fill this gap, the competency gap analysis best practice. How can we do this practically in our day-to-day while working on this. So mapping individuals, when we say mapping individual competency against job requirement, it involves assessing and aligning an individual's skills, knowledge, and behaviors with the specific requirements of job role. So basically, it's an alignment, as I said previously, alignment not only of the technical knowledge, it's aligning the skills, the competencies, so the behavioral skills, the technical skills, the leadership skills and human skills, and the technical knowledge with the specific requirement of a job role. In order to do so, the first step is to have a clear competency framework. A clear competency framework, this is what we call the Competency Dictionary of an organization. You might have this in your entity, in your organization, and this is amazing. And this competency framework needs always our attention. We always need to review it to make sure that things are always up to date. This is what I need in terms of competencies, because you know, everything is changing. Digitalization, AI, companies need, everything is growing, everything is changing, and a very fast pace. So we always need to see and to figure out is our competency dictionary and framework. It goes always in parallel with what the companies need on a strategic level, on a growth level. If we have competencies, let's say, outdated, we will not be able to serve the purpose of the organization growth. So having a clear and updated competency framework, this is the first step. And the second step would be definitely the job description itself. We all know that the job description, ladies and gentlemen, is like the basics in HR. This is what we need in order to figure out what kind of task that person will be doing, what is the role of that person, what are the competencies required. But the most important thing here to learn is to keep an eye on the competencies level of our job description. We've seen a lot of job description basically oriented only on tasks, and this is crucial. Tasks are important, yes. They do describe the life of that individual in my organization. But on top of those tasks, what we need as well is the competencies. So we will be able eventually to search for the potential and the best fit. And last but not least, it's like the alignment of the resources with the job requirement. I have the job requirement from the job description and from the competency dictionary, and we can have all of them grouped in the job description form. Well, things are clear. It's time to search for the alignment. So again, we have talented people around us. We have potential, but we need to search for the appropriate seed to be planted in the appropriate environment. And in order to do so, we need to check in each and every talented person the essence, the 80%, and figure out what are the competencies that that person really has like potential in. What are the competencies that that person strives in? So I can build on that to fill any gap I do have. So when I shift my attention to a more competency-based analysis to fit the gap, I will eventually be able to unleash the potential, as we've been talking earlier, simply and in a very easy way, because I know that that person has this set of competency, and this is the talent that I am searching for in terms of competency. I know the strengths, I know the areas for improvement and areas for development. Well, I can set a growth plan to unleash the potential of that person. But at least the starting point is the consciousness, is the awareness of the competency level of that person, and making sure that those competencies, this is what I need in this specific need to be able to fill the gap. Strategies to bridge competency gaps. I talked about this quickly at the beginning, so I will refocus on this to be able to bridge the competency gap, because it's very normal. Let's normalize the fact that each and every person needs to develop the competencies and the skills every day. Even if I've been working in HR for 15 years, I do have the needed experience. I do give courses in HR for master degree students. I do give HR training. This doesn't mean that I am on the top of the top in my knowledge. No, I always need to check in, to look at my competencies and try to sharpen the saw, as Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In habit number 7, we always need to sharpen the saw, ladies and gentlemen. Sharpening the saw, it's the continuous learning. It's always checking where I am in different aspects and making sure that I am still growing, I am still learning. And in order to do this in our organization, we have different strategies. We pick from those strategies based on the budget we have, based on the vision we have in hand, based on the strategy of the organization, based on the will, based on the need. It's up to you to choose. We have different strategies, but it's up on you to choose really what fits your entity, your organization, and your company. The training and development programs, and here I would love to focus on this, not from the perspective of I would say, traditional training and development program, no, and a more of a strategic training and development program based on training need analysis, based on deep analysis, based on really checking the need and try to fit the need from a perspective of analyzing the competencies, the competency-based needs. So the TNA, the training need analysis, I would love to invite you to try to start making it based on the competencies, not only based on the general perspective or job requirement need only. Peer learning and collaboration. This is where we put peers to learn from each other, and this is a very important and interesting strategy. Coaching by working on one-on-one coaching, team coaching, organization coaching as well. Job rotation and cross-training. This is very important. Sometimes we see that people learn from practical things, from rotating from one job to another, learning from another job. So this is also very important. Continuous learning culture. This is super interesting to implement this continuous learning culture in our organization, so we can really encourage people to continuously learn, to continuously get something new. And the continuous learning culture could be set in motion by having a learning and development program, by having a maybe a self-learning program, encouraging people by having book clubs, by having like discussions, roundtable around certain discussion and certain topics on a monthly basis, let's say. So, and the performance feedback, definitely continuous feedback is very important to bridge the competencies. Like to make sure that we are working always on developing the competencies. So what is your role as HR in the whole thing and in developing action plans? It's all about you, HR people. It's within your hand. It depends on you, because you are the, I would say, you are the dynamic, you are the core, you are the most important part in this whole journey. The proactive approach is to change from inside out, to be different, and by being different to effect positive change in what's out there. I can be more resourceful, I can be more diligent, I can be more creative, I can be more cooperative. This is what Stephen Covey said about proactiveness. Habit number 1 in the 7 habits of highly effective people: be proactive. So you as HR people, what you need is to be proactive, to try to think ahead of time. I'm sure you are already doing an amazing job out there. I'm sure you are already working on this, and it's a quick and it's a good reminder for us as HR to always think from a proactive perspective, to work on those competencies, because the competency is really the essence of the HR. We use competencies to develop, we use competencies to recruit, we use competencies to retain. And you know, usually we summarize HR job in 3 words: recruit, develop, retain. Attract, develop, and retain. Recruit or attract, it's the same. So basically, if I want to attract people to see the best fit, I need the competencies to make the matching, the 80%, the essence of the person in what I need on a competency level in a job description. Number two, to develop, I do need the competencies to develop, because the more I develop based on the competencies, the more I will reach the required desire. And retain, we retain people when we give them continuous learning. We retain people when we give them a great environment to grow and strive. We retain people when we help them to be okay in their environment. And based on the competencies, we can do this three most essential part in the HR journey. And to summarize all what we've been saying and this webinar, I would love to highlight the fact that competencies, they do have the domino effect in everything related to HR and in everything related to growth journey for our individual. If the competencies are well structured, things will follow easily. And if the competencies were not developed well, we don't work around them in a good way or appropriate way, the whole domino will fall down. So take care of the competencies in order to be able to take care of our talented people and in order to unleash the potential. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. It was my pleasure to lead on this webinar, and I hope it served you. Now we will have 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. So I invite all of you to write your question in the Q&A box. I will answer your question, and then before we close the webinar, we will allocate like 2 minutes only to ask you about your feedback in a very small and quick survey. Thank you again, and I will be checking the question with Shivani to be able to answer you.
Thank you so much, Rita. Unfortunately, I see a couple of messages informing us that there was a network issue. It was working absolutely fine for me. However, I mean, it's technology and we really can't rely on it. But we do have the session recorded. And for all of you who messaged saying that the session was not working, that there was a network issue, we will be sharing the recording with you as well.
So basically, now, Shivani, if I understood you well, for you there wasn't an issue. So the issue was coming from their end.
Yeah, for me it was working absolutely fine.
Okay. Just making sure that we didn't have any problem from our end. Yeah, we understand sometimes technology it doesn't help us.
It does all the time, yeah.
Yeah. And do we have other questions? Do we have?
Yes, so we do have a few questions.
Yes.
I'll go with the first one. The person says competencies should be identified and matched to a role and should not be identified for a person as it should be role serving. Is this completely true?
Yes, so basically, let's say the answer would be about combining those two elements of the question. So basically, the competencies should be identified based on the need of the job. Yes, definitely. At the end of the day, the competencies will serve the job in the company. And in parallel, we need to identify and to create the link between those competencies needed for the job, the technical, the behavioral, the leadership, and the core values with the competencies that the person does have insight in. So, and we do the matching to have the great fit.
Lovely. While we are waiting for more questions to come in, Rita, is there anything else that you would like to add to the session or you would like to share? And I would encourage each one of you to ask any question that you might have. We'll take your questions and Rita will happily answer.
Basically, I would love to only highlight one thing that I see that's very important and crucial, is that sometimes we think that the competency framework is something very heavy, difficult, not straightforward to be done. However, I would love to encourage you as HR people and leaders to think that Yes, that's true. It needs a lot to develop the competencies needed for all the jobs and to have a clear competency dictionary and framework. However, once done, the added value is amazing. And the added value is very powerful for us as HR because, as I said, the competencies is the key to attract, to develop, and to retain our people. Do we have any other question, Shivani?
Unfortunately, we are not receiving any questions. I hope the session was working fine for all attendees. Like I said, I do see a couple of messages mentioning that it was not working properly.
Yes, no problem. Fortunately, the session is recorded, so they can see it again, and they will benefit from its from the content. So I will be sharing the link of the in the chat box. I shared the link for the form of the happiness survey. I would appreciate if all the participants can fill it so we can get their feedback and their recommendation for any future intervention from our end. Shivani, if possible, if they weren't able to get the survey, if possible, to reshare it with them. It's important for us to have like a feedback to improve always our services.
Lovely. So once I'm sharing the recording with these members, I will also share the feedback form.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. We will wait a couple of minutes. Maybe we will get more questions before we close the session.
Sure.
What do you think? Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe we will have questions coming. Meanwhile, I would love to add something related to the strategies, maybe. When we talked about the strategies of developing the competencies, the learning and development, the coaching, the mentoring, the continuous learning, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, everything related to the strategies of development of competencies is directly related to growth, is directly or indirectly related to learning. And this is very important. This is very important because competency, it's not something that we acquired once and we are fine for a lifetime. Competency is like, it's a skill that it's like a muscle that we always need to train. To be able to fit any gap, any potential gap, we always need to train this muscle to be up to the level whenever needed. So this is why we set a lot and different strategies for implementation for competencies development, because sometimes training alone does not work. Self-learning might work. Sometimes for some people, coaching does not work. For others, coaching is the solution. For some people, team sessions is very important. For others, individual sessions are more important. So here is the game, and the difficulty sometimes for us as HR is to basically try to implement different strategies to be able to answer different learning styles for our potential people and talented people. And this is where, again, we are trying to implement our growth mindset to be able to always search for the best way to fill the gap. diversity in our strategies, diversities in our system, diversity in our implementation processes will help us to reach out to a higher level of, I would say, need, or basically a satisfaction from higher level of satisfaction from different people.
Lovely. So, Rita, I do not see any other question coming in.
Okay.
So maybe we should end the session here. And in case you guys have any questions or you want to inquire about anything, feel free to reach out to Rita directly. We would also request you to fill in the feedback form. And yes, definitely, we will be sharing the recording of this session with you all.
Great.
Thanks a lot for your time, Rita.
Thank you so much, Shivani, for hosting us. Myself and Formatech team would love to thank you and all the team for your attendance, and hope to see you in future interventions. Thank you so much.